It's a story about the Vatican and the aliens. And because it looks like of all the religions, the Vatican seems to be really making an effort to come to grips with this phenomenon. They basically, what they did in the 500 years ago, 400 years ago, is they mixed up with the church made a dogma, a religious dogma, out of scientific facts. Like basically what's the shape of the solar system, is the Earth the center of the universe? And even though the Bible doesn't talk about this, they somehow took the Ptolemaic theory of the Earth as the center as if it was a religious dogma. But Ptolemy was a Greek astronomer who lived about 300 AD during the Roman Empire, and he wasn't even a Christian. So why would they? But again, that's what most people believed at the time. Ptolemy was had the best star catalog, so that's why he was so highly regarded. It was used for about 1,000 years. The best star catalog was compiled by him, probably a combination of previous sources and whatever observations he did. So he was a great astronomer, but he had it wrong, obviously, as to the mechanism of the solar system. Then in the 1500s, you had a Polish priest called Copernicus, who got the right idea. Even though it wasn't new, the Greeks already, Hipparchus had discussed already the possibility of the sun as the center of the solar system and the Earth moving around. So Copernicus revived that theory. But he knew that this was going to get him in trouble with the church. He himself was a priest, so he kept it quiet, and basically the book was published right before his death. So he died quietly. But then came, of course, two other figures. One is Giordano Bruno, who was burned at the stake and who was a great believer in the plurality of worlds. He was, really talking about the multiplicity of life in the universe. I don't believe that was the main reason, though, why they condemned him. He had a lot of other theological he was basically independent. He was into hermetic sciences and things like that. So the Inquisition had a lot of problems with him. But one of the charges was also that he believed in life outside the, in other planets. And then, of course, Galileo is very famous. He was a devout Catholic himself, but he got in trouble with the Inquisition. So basically, it seems that now the churches don't want to repeat this mistake. And they've learned. There's a very old institution, Eventually they learn just because of being around for so long. And this new pope really seems to be pushing this thing. We'll be publishing a whole series. We'll go through the whole history. Most people are familiar with Balducci, who was the great Monsignor. I had the privilege of meeting him twice. Of course, Mauricio knew him well. And he was a great guy. He was the Roman Catholic exorcist, the Vatican exorcist. And then he became the Vatican ufologist, and openly so, although he said always that this was his own views, not necessarily the official views of the Vatican. But obviously the Vatican allowed him to go and say this, otherwise he would have been censored. And believe me, when the Vatican wants to shut up someone, they do it. They don't burn them anymore, but they have other techniques. And anyway, so Balducci was a great guy, and now he was very clear in his philosophy that aliens were not connected to either angels or demons. As you will see, there are many people that have written books. John Keel was one of them, even Jacques Vallée, where they kind of mix all these things. But Balducci said, no, these are different things. First of all, because angels and demons, even though they can materialize between places and stuff like that, they don't need machines to fly, but UFOs do. So he really believed that UFOs were some kind of extraterrestrial. But however, Balducci wasn't the first. In the 1960s and 1970s, there was already a Vatican ufologist. His name was Domenico Grasso. But he's very little known by Americans. His work was never published in English. He passed away, I'm sure, many years ago. But we do have some documents of him in Italian. And so we'll be tracing the whole history of what's going on with the Vatican. And more recently, of course, there have been the statements by Father Huneeus, who is a Vatican astronomer, the head of the Vatican Observatory, who is, interesting enough, he's a Jesuit from Argentina. And of course, in Argentina, there's been a long history of UFOs. So maybe he's familiar in his youth. I don't know. I haven't met the guy. But we're hoping at some point to meet him because, as most of you know, or probably some of you know, the Vatican, the original observatory of the Vatican is Castel Gandolfo. It's in Rome. But because of light pollution, in cities, when they built it in the whatever 1600s or whatever, well, I'm sure it was great. But now, with all the major the lights of big cities, you cannot really do proper astronomy. So it's mostly like a historical place, and the headquarters of the office. But their main observatory is here in Arizona, and it's near Tucson. So we're hoping to go there.
It's on Mount Graham.
Yeah, Mount Graham, right? So finally, to end up this little talk about the Vatican, well, we heard, of course, we get all kinds of tips at Open Minds. It's never dull there, believe me. There's always something going on. We got interesting people that come and bring videos and so on. But we got a tip that Shirley MacLaine and the elders, Britt and Lee elders, have actually an appointment with the Pope. They will be seeing him in January, sometime in January. And after that, they're going to make a press conference or something. Now, this Pope, this German Pope, is a very cautious man. So I wouldn't expect that he's going to go and give like a major statement. But obviously, the fact that he's even receiving them, he might say something. Of course, they had recently this symposium in Rome, a Congress on Astrobiology, which was run by this Father Huneeus. And we obtained the document, the brochure that has all the abstracts, which you can get online. And we'll be posting all the links and everything when we do the story. And there was even a statement there, a welcome statement by the Pope. So it's obviously that they're going slow. The Catholic Church is a very slow operation. They take sometimes centuries to adjust to things, but at least they're making, it seems to me, they are definitely making a serious effort to come to grips with this phenomenon. I think the problem for the church is not so much the existence of aliens, because obviously, if you believe in God, it's obvious that, that God can create whatever he likes, including, millions of planets. So that's not the problem. And I think most of these astronomers and Catholic theologians have, that's not the problem. The problem comes with the Catholic dogma about, original sin. So if we had original sin in this planet, well, do other planets have it or whatever? And then, well, what's the relationship between Jesus? Did Jesus have to incarnate in other planets? So there's a lot of tricky dogmatic problems. And I guess that's what they're trying to come to grips, even though they seem to be doing not through the theological angle, but through the scientific angle. The Vatican has an Academy of Sciences. Most people don't know this. It's called the Pontifical Academy of Sciences. And they have legitimate scientists working there. So it seems that they're pushing it on that area. Well, let's see. We'll do anything else here. So make sure for sure to check our website. openminds.tv, get a copy of our brochure. You can listen to Alejandro's radio program. The magazine will be coming in February. Oh yes, another important thing. Two more things, actually, I was forgetting. When you go to the website, now, beginning last week, we started a new thing. We have articles, of course, and we have links to headlines, which Alejandro does, and we have the radio program. We have outside contributors, too. We recently posted an article by Angela Joyner, who became famous with the Stephenville, Texas case. And this is an article about Steven Spielberg and the James Fox movie, I Know What I Saw, which apparently, not apparently, I mean, Spielberg did see the movie and he liked it, and he wrote a letter endorsing it, but he's not going public with it. So the article is a little, leaves it kind of hanging there. And we have some other articles by other contributors. But we've also posted a video section. And so we have some short clips there. But more important, we have a half an hour roundtable discussion